So last week I went to Austin, Texas. Had a wonderful time, by the way. Shout out, some of you guys in the chat were there. Shout out to you. Thanks for being here, and for being there. Amazing Tex-Mex food. And on my way to Austin, I was in the Burbank airport, and I'm in line. My fiance came along with me because, we knew it was a cool weekend in Austin. The East Walk was going on. That's why we were doing the event. So she came along. She's like, that sounds fun. I want to tag along. So me and my fiance are in line, and Henry Rollins walks into the airport, and he's just standing in line. And I go, that's Henry Rollins. And she looks back, and she goes, maybe he's going to Austin too. And he totally heard her and looked up and kind of like made eye contact with the two of us. And then my fiance was like, oh shit, like play it cool. And Henry Rollins has said on a number of podcasts that he is just sort of a regular dude when it comes to flying. He does not fly first class. He just can't justify spending that kind of money, even though he can afford it. He just says it's a stupid way to spend my money. I don't fly first class. I don't see the point in it. And based on my experience, dude's telling the truth. He was just waiting in line in coach, just like everybody else. And he was just a little bit behind me in line. So I'm thinking, man, I got to say something. I've never met Henry Rollins in person. We've emailed back and forth a couple times. And I've emailed with him directly, and then other people have emailed him on my behalf. We have tried to get him on Aggressive Progressives when I've been guest hosting. He hasn't been able to do it. I've also emailed him about doing this show. He has responded, but he has not been able to do it. But, he said that hopefully in the future. So, fingers crossed, it'll eventually be a thing he does. But so I was like, well, I got to just say hello, right? And so I get through security, and I do the TSA pre-check thing. That's something I do. And my fiance does it too, but somehow something got screwed up, and I got it, but she didn't. So I get through security way before her, and I had to wait for her. So I'm waiting for her, and she gets through, and shortly after she gets through, Henry Rollins gets through. I guess Henry Rollins doesn't do TSA pre-check either, because he wasn't in the pre-check line either. But I do TSA. I'll tell you what, I do global entry. It was so worth it. So worth it. It ends up being about $20 a year. If you fly regularly, it is beyond worth it. I highly recommend it. My interview was very weird. You do this interview, and they just like, they just distract you while they're entering your information. Like, that's all they do. My entire interview was just this guy like, oh, so you're a comedian? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, where do you perform? And I'm like, is this like some kind of weird interrogation? And I was freaking nervous. Turns out the dude was just making conversation while he was entering my information. It's actually a pretty laid-back process getting TSA pre-check / global entry. Anyway. So I do that. So I get through, and shortly after my fiance gets through, Henry Rollins gets through, and he, he's putting his belt on, whatever, and I'm like, I gotta say, yeah. So I just stop him, and I go, hey, Henry, I don't want to bother you. I know you're traveling. Right away, stupid thing to say. Right, like, what? I know you're traveling. As if he was going to be like, oh, how do you know I just don't love to peruse the restaurants at the Burbank airport? This is actually where you can get the finest turkey croissant. I know you're traveling. What? Oh, wow, you must be, let me guess, you're an astrophysicist fan of mine. Is that what you do for, I'm traveling. You're a frickin' genius. So right away, strike one out of the gate. But I'm like, Henry, I don't mean to bother you. I know you're traveling. Because I'm a genius. You're at an airport going through security. So am I. Hey, you know what? Gonna go out on a limb, say we're both traveling. Huh? I'm a frickin' scientist, Rollins. But that was what I said, because I'm an idiot. I go, Henry, I don't mean to bother you. I know you're traveling. This is actually just a hobby of mine. This is an exercise I do. There's actually dumbbells at the end waiting for me. I go through airport security to get my temper up, and then I lift weights until I'm not angry anymore. It's a workout that I've coined. I haven't named it yet, but that's actually what I'm here for. I'm in fact not traveling, Ron. But I go, yeah, I know you're traveling. And I go, but I'm a big fan. And, I'm a big fan. And then she shook my hand. And then he goes, thanks, waves and just bounces. And then I'm standing there and I turn to my fiance and I go, that's pretty lame. And she goes, yeah. Like, she didn't even like try to be like, what, that was fine. You just said hello. You didn't want to bother him. She just goes, yeah, no, that was pretty weak. Like, it was almost like he was waiting for me to say something more. And I was just like, I don't want to bother, big fan. All right. And that was... And then, so the reason I stopped him there was because I don't know if I'm going to see him again, right? It's an airport. Now, this was the Burbank airport. And for anyone that's never been to the Burbank airport, which I'd imagine most of you haven't, but it is way smaller than LAX. It is like 8 gates. It is way smaller than LAX. And it is also way closer to where I live. If I could afford to use the Burbank airport, I would all the time. See, here's the deal with the Burbank airport. Even though it's a great airport compared to LAX, it's about 8 gates. It's amazing. And everybody at the Burbank airport is happy. You know why they're happy? Because they're not at LAX. Everybody at the Burbank, even the employees. Like, whenever, like, the employees are just happy when you meet them. Like the TSA people are just, like, happy. And it's because they're like, I don't work at LAX. I'd imagine you have to, like, in a lot of cases, you have to work at LAX, and then after you've paid your dues, they transfer you to Burbank. I don't know that for sure. I'm speculating. I don't know. But it's like everyone just might as well be like, yeah, we're not at LAX. We're fucking really happy. Everybody's just, the people flying are happy. Everybody's happy. Henry Rollins was happy. Everyone super happy. Because it's a small-ass airport. So anyway, but still, I didn't know where Henry was going. I didn't know if I've never met the guy in person before. And I didn't want to talk about my, like, hey man, we've actually emailed back and forth. You have politely declined multiple requests involving me. I didn't want to do that. So instead I just said hello. And then I just wanted to drop it. But then Henry was on the same flight as me. So, like, 5 minutes later, we're just sitting in the same gate as each other. Just sitting there. And he's like a couple seats down from me. And I can't say, I should have just been like, hey man, I know I guess I lied to you. I said I didn't mean to bother you, but dude, since we're both just sitting here waiting for a flight, would you mind a picture? But I felt weird doing it. I was like, I just said I don't want to bother you. So I don't want to, like, now I'm a hypocrite if I go and talk. So I just didn't talk to him again. And that's... He's like, I wonder if that kid still realizes I'm traveling. I wonder if he knows that. I should ask him. Hey man, are you still on the scene here? Hey Sherlock, am I still traveling? Are you gonna? I bet you think I'm gonna get on the same plane as you. Are you gonna get on? That's what I'm doing. We're waiting to get on the same plane. He could have just taunted me, and it would have been pretty funny. You would be like, hey man, am I still traveling? Ron, do you think I quit traveling? What do you think? You're the detective, not me. I'm just the dude whose books you read. But, oh, and this is funny. Zachary said, Henry's getting off the plane one stop before you. Zachary, you're actually right, because this was a Southwest flight, so there were multiple stops, and Henry did get off the stop before Austin was Phoenix, so he got off at Phoenix. I don't know if he was touring there. I don't know. I don't know, but he got off at Phoenix. I didn't get off until Austin because my destination was Austin. Maybe he had a connection in Phoenix that was elsewhere, but he actually did. Jimmy Stone says, I like that Ron is high energy and I'm low energy. If we were in a place together, I wouldn't have to say shit or socialize. Yeah, I don't know. I should have talked to him. I mean, I didn't want to, like, just start spouting off my resume, in front of the guy. Like, I didn't want to be like, so there's been a couple emails, and you actually, aggressive, progressive, and get your news on with Ron. That was me inquiring if you could be part of it, blah, 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 blah. But, I didn't want to do that, so, but I guess if we would have started a conversation, and he was like, hey, man, so who are you? I could have said, but I didn't take that route, and he was just sitting on his phone, maybe he would have liked it if a fan would have talked to him. And you know what's craziest of all? I was this close to wearing my State of Alert t-shirt that day, just randomly. I was in a Clash t-shirt, so I'm sure it didn't shock him. Like, I was wearing a pleather jacket and a Clash t-shirt. And yes, it is pleather. It is not real leather. I care. But yeah, I was wearing that and a Clash t-shirt. So I'm sure he's like, well, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. That dude's a fan. But anyway, so that's the Henry Rollins story, and I knew he was traveling, guys, because I'm a genius. Andy says, now you really need to get him on the show. You already have the anecdote icebreaker. I will. I'm going to try again. You got to space it out. When you request and somebody can't do it, and the reason he couldn't do it was because he had a big tour going on, so I will reach out again. We do have some mutual friends. So yeah, hopefully I'll get to have him on and I'll tell him this story and I'll be like, dude, that was just so, but there are a lot of things I'd like to talk to him about because, I will say this, and I think I've said this before, but, I don't have the world's greatest temper. It's been something I've dealt with my entire life, and, I've tried a lot of different things to really keep that temper in check, and, one of the things that really has worked is just lifting weights. And it's embarrassing for me to admit how long it took me to give that a try. For the longest time, I didn't lift weights. I don't know why. I just didn't do it. And finally, recently, just a couple years ago, I gave that a try. And that really, really helped. That really, really helped. So I'd like to talk to him about that. And for anyone who doesn't know who Henry Rollins is, Henry Rollins was the singer. Well, he was a punk rock singer. That was where he started. His first band was a band called State of Alert. Later, he went on to sing for a band that, went a lot further called Black Flag. And then he became a spoken word artist and writer. And he's also, he's done movies and all that sort of thing too. And he still tours around the country. And he travels all around the world doing his thing. So anyway, that's Henry Rollins' story. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your